Hello, hello. I'm in a bit of a rush, but I want to clear this out of my head. So, I have coached a lot of people. I have observed all sorts of reactions, and I have drawn a lot of conclusions from them in by looking at what kind of results the coaching has yielded for different types of people and that had different types of responses. And um, one of the first things that I noticed is if a person uh I first of all there's different types of responses that people go for. Let's try to list them. There's ones that just agree to everything, and the way they do that is it's almost like they have so much respect for you that everything you say just vetoes whatever they think, right? They just completely I don't know, intellectually submissive or something, right? Oh, you said this? Okay, it is now gospel. They almost like worship you or some shit, right? Then you have the ones that are the silent, uh, I'm listening type. Then you have um, the ones that kind of, how should I say, the ones that are trying to prove their worth, or they're trying to, um, for some reason impress you, and that usually takes the form of they will start talking about unrelated things to their development, or like, oh, I knew this, or I've done this, and uh, how do you tell if that's what they're doing or they're actually learning is the proportion of how often they go get sidetracked. If they get sidetracked all the time and you're just all the time thinking, why the fuck is he talking about this? 100% trying to make an impression on you. 100% somehow trying to get respect on you. Um, or trying to make you respect them. Or create a feeling as if they're much smarter than they are. Trying to prove their worth. Um, then you have ones that ask questions. And there's two types of people that ask questions. There's ones that are ask questions immediately. No, not immediately. Ask questions. I guess the difference is what types of questions they ask. There's ones that ask questions about uh, everything. Like they just, I don't know how to say. They're asking for a manual. I think that's the closest. For direct instructions. What do I do now? What do I do now? What do I do now? Um, and then you have ones that are asking to di- clarify understanding. And how do you see the difference between the two? One is asking you for a fucking step-by-step instruction, and the other is asking you after a brief pause, and it's like, oh, after how should I say? They go through the process of trying to fit the idea that you shown to them into their own current model of thinking. They see where or they don't see how it fits, and then they ask questions in those pain points, and their questions are going to be very precise and very directed towards um, nuances. Let's just say that. Um, that's how you tell the difference. And What have I observed? Of course, everyone that I have basically worked with has made progress. Um, so in a sense, you could say everyone has understood some things, but I would say I would say they may be made progress not on the back of actually understanding the ideas, but more like emotional support or companionship or whatever fucking shit. Um, not actually understanding the ideas that were offered. Generally, what has happens is all of these methods of engagement, except for this last one, the person does not understand jack shit what you're telling them. They don't understand anything. Um, it's as simple as that. They just don't understand anything. They just don't understand jack shit. Um, if you ever, I have, it's so, I don't know. It's very easy to be optimistic and just assume that not some people are not retarded or whatever, right? And they understand something. No, don't assume. Because if you're assuming that people are not retarded, you're assuming the most statistically unlikely thing. Um, Understand that all people are retarded by default. It takes extreme amount of effort to not be fucking disgustingly stupid. And you thinking that, oh, he's just silent, maybe he's just listening and thinking. No, he's not. His brain is completely empty. He's just like at school when you're listening to a school lecture. How much retention do you make in class? Fuck all. Um, unless you are actually trying to clarify your model, update your model of understanding, you are not going to retain any information because that's not how information is stored. Uh, Information is stored by updating your model of understanding of things. Let's just say that. Anything that doesn't relate to that just gets discarded because it has no reason to um, get reinforced over time. So it's this idea that information is just something that uh, you just get a lot of as a resource, and then that resource will help you improve is completely wrong. That information needs to um, immediately become a replacement for some part in your system, and only then this information has any use. Otherwise, that information is just gonna wither away and have gonna degrade. You're gonna put your own biases and misinterpretations onto it, and then you're gonna have a feeling like you've understood everything. Meanwhile, you've understood fucking nothing. And that's kind of the main thing I took away from coaching people is I've understood that maybe the skill issue is on me, but um, I've understood that practically nobody has been able to understand the ideas I put. There's maybe one person who understood them a little bit to like a half-assed degree. He understood the things he wanted to understand, and then completely went with all the completely went with projections of all the other ideas without understanding where they're coming from, right? Assuming their origin and basis. So, how should I say? A lot of people they think they're smarter than they are, and because of that, they're prone of filling in the gaps themselves. And I think this all comes down from one inherently harmful assumption, and it relates to how you just absorb content in general. Let's say you're watching a movie or you're watching a painting. Whose interpretation are you trying to gather? Are you just watching the movie and observing it and taking your own interpretation and assuming that and saying, "Wow, what a great movie! I have interpreted this from it." Or do you look at it from two perspectives, your interpretation and then what the author tried to convey? And a lot of people are in this like I don't even know, like snowflakey or whatever belief that interpretation's completely a king. Everyone can interpret everything the way they want to. Yes, but you will never understand people around you if that's how you think. You need to actually understand the intent and the idea that was being put forward by the deliverer first, and then project your interpretation onto that. Um, but not understanding that first, it's the same like I tell you, hello, how are you? And then you do your absurd jumbling of it, and you're like, wow, this person wants me. No, I just said hello. And if you actually paid attention to my body language, my uh, tone of voice, you'll just see it was, and paid attention to how I speak to other people, you'll just see that that was neutral. Maybe I'm just a very outgoing person or something, right? But if you were to take that in isolation, how that made you feel, maybe me saying hello made you feel fucking really happy, butterflies in your heart or something, and you have projected that I am just this really warm person towards you. Maybe I'm warm towards everyone, unlucky, right? And you've just misinterpreted my gesture. And um, yeah, people don't understand you unless they are actively clarifying your thoughts. And generally, that's a very slow, very how should I say, dirty process. Let's just say that you need to get into the it gets not pedantic. It never feels pedantic. This feels pedantic when they ask for instructions, but it does get pretty it gets pretty low level, and yeah, um, that's pretty much it. Uh, let's just try to summarize the point. So, how to tell if a person understands you? They must be asking a certain types of questions that are aimed at updating their model of understanding, and it's important that they try to understand what you as the deliverer meant, otherwise there is zero chance that they will understand it the way that you intended. They will understand it with their own projection of it and then attribute the flaws of whatever projection that they made to you. And that's the funniest part of it. Let's say I tell you something very simple, like train a lot, but um, or train very effectively, uh, but don't but do this type of training and do not do this type of training, right? Something very simple, right? I just made some shit up, something abstract, right? And this person hears do a lot of training, uh, and do this type of training, and then I say, but don't do this type of training. They don't understand why I said don't do this type of training, and they're like, haha, I know a way to one up whatever he gave and outperform. I will do train a lot, this type of training, and this type of training. And they don't realize maybe I said to not to do that type of training because it actually um, will hurt you in the long run. Or you will say something like, do this type of training, and then you'll clarify some nuance, and then they'll not understand why you added that nuance. That completely can change the leverage of it. It will completely change its result from mediocre to top tier. And they will just not understand the value of that nuance and they'll discard it and not do it. And then they'll do the training and be like, look, I did what you told me, but I had no, not the result I expected. And then you ask them about the nuance and they're like, hmm? You know? So, but the funniest thing is they will make the mistake and then they will blame you for not delivering uh, or not even not delivering, for telling them the wrong approach, even though they have executed in a way where, of course, it's not going to yield the result. And even if you clarified that a lot of times, because they have this selective hearing where they're not actually trying to understand what you're saying, they're just creating a projection of what you're saying and just and I, in that kind of situation, it's even hard for me to, as a coach, even feel responsible for your mistakes. Like, yeah, I could maybe feel responsible for uh, if I told you the wrong thing and then you did it, and then I'll be like, oh, okay, I'll need to change this and that. But it's like, I've made it fairly clear, I've reiterated the nuance many times, and you just had this, like, personal arrogance or whatever. I can't really feel responsible for that. It's like you didn't even do what I suggested you do. And that's fine, right? That's fine. Um, Everyone gets to do what they like to do, right? Have fun. Um, don't really bother with listening to other people. If we go to, like, out of everyone that I've coached and who truly understood me, that would be zero people. There are people that did it to some extent, and the bigger that extent, the more progress they made in a short amount of time. And then what usually happens is once someone starts making some degree of progress in a short period of time, they start growing like a really big arrogance, and they start thinking that they are on top of the world and they are so capable and they know everything better. This is not true. Um, let's say you were a retard and you did some approach that made you get a result. It doesn't change the fact that you're still a retard and you still have a million things to learn. Um, how should I say? You need to be. Even this is mega misunderstood. I always talk about the importance of ego, but ego does not mean that you have to become arrogant. You could have um, extreme ego and always like trust in yourself and push yourself, blah blah blah. It does not mean that you assume that you are the strongest version of yourself. True ego is not arrogance. Um, and most people misattribute this. It's being arrogant and ignorant of your flaws and ignoring them, overlooking them, or even outright denying them is not ego. It's a form of weakness masking itself as ego. So, this whole thing where, um, at least what I've observed, you see this guy who's struggling, you give him some advice, he climbs like crazy in a short period of time. He, for some reason, starts thinking that he's special or he's a genius. And he stops addressing his flaws. He starts using his ego to cover up. Then this person, from that point on, will not yield any results. Um, and this has happened multiple times. And it takes they will only start seeing results once they get fed up of being where they are and get humbled. And this is something fairly consistent from what I've seen. So why even become arrogant in the first place? I don't know. But basically, what happens is someone climbs and then they just start thinking they're so much smarter and better than you. Usually, they're not. Um, they think that they're the chosen one. Usually, they're not. Most people are, how should I say? Most people, we all live within the same system, within the same rules. There are no such thing as chosen ones. There is um, people that are able to leverage those rules and um, they use them effectively in their favor, right? And those will relate to factors such as intelligence and energy reserves. And but that does not make you immune to the rules themselves. It does not make you special enough so that the rules don't apply. There is no one that can truly escape that. And in that sense, believing that you are special is always going to harm you. It's it's important to believe that you are very capable and you can do a lot and have strong self-belief, but believing that you're special and you're exempt is a form of weakness. And almost everyone I've spoken to has been prone to these two issues: misinterpretation and then arrogance. Um, and most people really don't understand what true arrogance is. This is a very misunderstood thing for some reason. They attribute arrogance to just whoever has the biggest ego, or to who has whatever. I don't really care. Okay, I think I've understood the idea, or explained the idea. People don't understand shit, and they have personal problems or traits that are getting in the way of them being able to grow. They think they know everything, and the more whatever you suggest to them works, the more they think they're special. And yeah, they might be special if they actually made it work. But that again, that does not translate to being exempt from the rules. Um, in arrogance. Okay, point made. Ciao.